to this YouTube channel, IT On Demand. If you haven't subscribed up till now, what are you waiting for, really? Thank you for being here, and I appreciate those subscriptions and those thumb ups. Thank you. Let's keep going and let's get started today. What I want to do today is this. So last time I talked about the rules for naming variables, right? And we looked at a couple of things. You should start with only a letter or an underscore. Those are the only two things that are valid to begin your variable names with. You cannot start with a number, and your variable names can only be alphanumeric. So you can only have uppercase, lowercase a to z, or 0 to 9, and underscore. We also said that it's case sensitive, and so this is not the same thing as my variable. So, and we also remarked that it should not be a Python keyword, and I explained what Python keywords are. In case you haven't watched that video, maybe you stumbled upon this video, I'll put a link to that video in the description below so you can just take a look at it. But yeah, I also suggested, and this is just a suggestion, this is not a rule. So if you use L equal to 4, it's perfectly valid. However, for readability's sake, if you are to use a single L, it's preferable to use the uppercase. And if you are to use a single O, it's preferable to use the lowercase. So today, I just want to talk you through some conventions. Maybe not many, but just a few conventions. So if you look at these variable names, by looking at this code, you're able to quickly tell that what I want to have here is an item. And what I want to have here is a price. And what I want to have here is payment. And what we have here is balance, right? So one of the things you should take note about your variable names is that your variable names should be descriptive. They should really speak to what values you're storing inside them. So if you look at this item, for instance, you don't expect to see an integer type in this item, because an item would always be something to talk about. It's a descriptive thing. It's water bottle, it's shoe, it's bag, it's iPhone, it's Android phone, it's the laptop, it's whatever it is, just name it. It's a string, it's a character, it's something that you're using to describe something, right? As opposed to when you're talking of quantity. If I say quantity, you know I'm talking about number. So use descriptive names. And like I said, these are just conventions. So use descriptive names. Now, we some time ago, we talked about using comments, right? And I did say that using comments is a very good thing. You should use comments. But and I also said that you should be mindful of overusing comments. So if you have descriptive variable names that really describe what values you're storing in there, you would have little to comment about. For instance, take a look at this code, for instance. If I say item equal to input, what item did the customer buy? If I come here 10 years after, I won't be struggling with understanding what this means, because an item would always be an item, right? But if, for instance, I say something like I equal to input, what is the name of the item? Now, it might be a little bit, and while this might be easy to look at, because I know that I'm asking a very descriptive thing by saying what is the name of the item. However, looking through my code, this is not so clear. What do I mean by I? It's not so clear, because the essence of assigning a value to a variable is because I want to reference that variable later. I want to use it later. And so use descriptive names. I would say use descriptive names. And I can't stress that enough. And it's perhaps one of the most difficult things to do. Looking for those names can be very difficult, I must be honest. But look for descriptive names. The second thing I would say is ensure that your names are not overly long. And while being descriptive is good, you shouldn't overstress it. So if I know that all I need is just an item equal to something, right? I shouldn't say the name of the item I want to accept. I mean, this is absolutely valid, because if you do this, name of the item, this is absolutely valid. However, I mean, why would I want to go through the stress of typing out this whole thing when I can actually pick out something? I mean, if I just have item here, that is descriptive enough, right? So I don't really need this name to be overly long. However, there are times that your variable names has to be a bit lengthy. And I would say, as much as possible, separate those by underscore. So if, for instance, I'm accepting two numbers to do something, maybe I want to add number 1 to number 2, I can say first number equal to input. What is the first number, right? And I can say second number equal to input. What is the second number? And you know, now this is a little bit, I mean, it's clear. And what I just want to say here is that whenever you have words that are more than one, you have to join two words together. You should join them using an underscore. And while this, for instance, first number is not invalid. So if I do something like this, what is the number? This is absolutely valid. However, in Python, the convention, and this is not a rule, and I think I'm stressing this so that you don't go out there saying, oh, why did you declare a variable like this, first number? It's not correct. No, it is. It works perfectly fine. This works perfectly fine. However, you think of a body of developers working, and this is how convention works, that we want to have a common ground of how we name our variables. And so the common ground that people have, which of course again is not a rule, as you would keep hearing me saying, is that whenever you have multiple words you want to join together, you should join them using the underscore. In C#, for instance, and in Java, this is the convention. If you do this in Java, it's going to work, but this is not the convention. And so you should understand the difference between conventions and rules, right? And I just feel I needed to stress that a little bit so that it's clear to you. And I think that's this. This is what I can remember off the top of my head. If there's anything I feel I need to chip in later on as I remember it, I would definitely chip it in. But for now, these are things I think you should take note of. Ensure that your names, and let me just say, this is just general advice and conventions, general suggestions and conventions. So these are not rules, but they are just general suggestions and conventions. And that's all I want to show you in this video. And now that we now understand what a variable is and why we have them and how to name variables, we've learned how to use numbers. We've learned to do certain things with numbers. The exercise I want to give you in this video is now tell me. This is exercise 2. So I want you to tell me which of these variable names are valid and which ones are invalid. The first one is valid name. Is this valid or it's invalid? Ignore this comment. And if that will be confusing, let me just, maybe I should just remove it. But I don't want this squiggly to confuse you. So let me include it, but just know that I'm particularly concerned about these names, not the comment. So this is number 1. And maybe I won't even include number so that you don't get confused. But yeah. So the second one I want to talk about is this valid? 3 name. How about this one? And how about this? Three valid names. Okay, and I think that should do it. Yes, so I just remembered one more thing. One more thing I just remembered now is that as much as possible, avoid starting your variable names with an underscore. Again, this is not a rule, right? And the reason for doing this is just so that you can avoid interfering with some of the way Python stores its own variables. And this will just help you to ensure that you are on track with your own way of doing things. You can figure out what your own variable is as opposed to what Python variable is. For instance, you have these dunder operators where you have something like this in Python. And so if you start using maybe double underscore or even a single underscore, it might be confusing to you or to someone else who would possibly read your code later as to, is this your own variable or is this a variable that is within Python? So it becomes confusing. And so it's just good to avoid it altogether as much as possible. And I just remember that. And so these are the exercises again. Is this a valid name? Which of these? I think I should just say which of these are not valid names. Is it 1? Is it number 1? And I don't want to put the numbers there because it might be confusing. Now we have 3 here. You might get confused. So, but yeah, that's just what I want to have there. And let's see, valid name. And so you can just write it out like saying this is valid. Maybe in your answer, you can just do something like valid. If you think it's valid, valid, just answer it like that. I can map it correctly to the appropriate answer that you've given. So that's all I want to show you in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button, and don't forget to share this video with others and tell them to subscribe, and let's learn together. Turn on your notification bell so that you can get these videos when they get released. Take care. See ya. Bye.